Here are 7 pretty weird facts about World War II. Let's get straight to the video. Number 1. Soldier fought for decades. Hiro Onoda was a World War II Japanese soldier who served until 1974. Onoda was sent to the Philippines on a mission and was told he could never surrender or commit suicide if he didn't believe the war had finished in 1945. He literally took to the hills with a few other officers for company. They waged guerrilla warfare against the locals, which resulted in several deaths, and Onoda's troops were slain in a series of pointless conflicts throughout the years. Onoda was eventually discovered in 1974, alone, desperate, but undefeated, and had to be officially dismissed from duty by his previous commanding officer, who was by then an elderly bookseller. Number 2. Cannibals almost eaten George H.W. Bush. When George H.W. Bush, the future president of the United States, was shot down during a bombing campaign against Japan, he narrowly spared a devilish fate. He was apprehended by the Allies, but all of the other men on the raid were apprehended by Japanese officials, who tortured, executed, cooked, and ate them in one of the war's most heinous war crimes. Number 3. A city found its way to safety by bluffing. During World War II, one German city devised an innovative and ingenious method of avoiding Allied bombing raids. Instead of imposing the regular blackout, Constance, which is close to the Swiss border, elected to keep all of its lights on as usual at night. The gamble paid off, as Allied pilots mistook it for being in Switzerland and saved it. Number 4. British officer went down in history. Adrian Carton de Wyatt, a colorful personality, who had already seen battle in the Boer War and World War I, was one of the most famous soldiers of the war. He'd been shot in the face, skull, leg, and hip throughout his various exploits, losing his left eye and one hand in the process. Despite his advanced age, he was anxious to contribute to the fight against Hitler. His plane crashed during a mission to Europe, and he was kidnapped by Italian fascists. Despite his stunning appearance, the 60-year-old veteran casually slipped from the POW camp and went incognito for days. With his black eye patch and empty sleeve, Carton de Wyatt looked like an aristocratic pirate, and became a figure of legend, according to one story. Number 5. Hitler's nephew came from Liverpool. During the war, Hitler's own nephew, William Patrick Hitler, was one of his most fervent opponents. William, who was born in Liverpool in 1911 to Adolf's brother, tried to use his uncle's political clout to advance his own career, but he eventually fled Nazi Germany and authored a magazine piece titled Why I Hate My Uncle. He eventually went to the United States and fought in the American Navy during World War II, receiving a medal for his gallantry in battle. He changed his name to William Patrick Stewart Houston, and lived a quiet, inconspicuous life in the United States until his death in 1987. Number 6. The ship managed to sink 2 times. During the conflict, one ship had an especially bad run. It was formerly known as the SS Veen, and it served in the Australian Navy during World War I before being sunk in 1918. It was lifted from the seabed and placed back into service a few years later, this time by Italy, and served as a medical ship for Mussolini's forces during World War II. The Allies assaulted it at this moment, and it became the only ship to be sunk in both World Wars. Number 7. A spy led a wild goose chase by the Nazis. Juan Pujol Garcia, a Nazi spy, was one of the most colorful characters of the war. In reality, he was a British double agent who specialized in providing fake intelligence to the Germans. Garcia flew to Portugal and made up his reports from the UK, although knowing very nothing about British life and culture, while his Nazi employers thought he lived in Britain. Despite Garcia's cultural gaffes, the Germans were impressed. In one report he described how Scottish people were avid wine drinkers. Garcia even created the Brothers of the Aryan World Order, a Welsh fascist group that allegedly operated out of Swansea. Thank you so much for watching. Let us know in the comments, would you like to see similar content to this?